Well, we got lots to talk about tonight because the NHL playoffs are in full swing and the Vancouver Canucks are making news as well. So I thought we'd probably start there because after weeks of speculation and debate, what are your thoughts on the Vancouver Canucks finishing the search and hiring Adam Foote as the new head coach?
So I actually wasn't really going to talk about this for like a couple of days because I was thinking they were going to announce Manny Malhotra. But when they announced Adam Foote, I was pretty disappointed, and I pumped out a video today where I got out most of my frustration. Let's just say, how do you expect next season to improve with a guy who's never coached professionally as a head coach, and he was the assistant to the guy that developed your defensive system. So when it comes to defense, he's not going to be as good as Rick Tocchet because Rick Tocchet has so much more experience over him. That's issue number one. But the main issue is, where the heck is all the offense going to come from? Like, this is a defensive-minded guy that scored 4.7 goals per 82 games over his 1,000-game career. His philosophy is defend first, everything else comes after, and that's kind of similar to Tocchet. He's going to be borrowing Tocchet's system. Where's the offensive creativity going to come from? Like, they're not going to get Jay Woodcroft as an assistant coach. Gerard Gallant's not going to want to come here as an assistant coach either. I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't agree with it. From what I understand, Manny Malhotra, he said it himself, Manny has 80% of the Canucks system, like the main team system. So as long as like that 80% mainly is like how you structure your play in your own zone and your defensive game, and the other 20% is proper offense with some creativity, with some pressing in the attacking zone, with some aggression from your defense, crashing and banging the net. That's all fine and dandy, but I have no idea where the offense is coming from, especially when you're losing Besser and Suter. That's 50 goals out of your lineup that you have to replace. And you have to account for the fact that we don't have Miller anymore. So my main concern is you've downgraded from your defensive minded coach Tocchet to Foote. And on top of that, you haven't addressed your biggest issue, which is your offense. So next season, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm totally wrong here. But next season, you might see how we had the end of the stretch this year, barely getting 20-21 shots, right? So, again, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't like the pick. He only has 1 year of experience being a head coach, and that was in the Dub. He's got 3 years, 2.5 years, actually, with the Canucks as an assistant coach. I don't think that's enough compared to Manny, at least. Manny has, 7 years NHL assistant, over 1,000 games. He's been co-signed by everyone. The Sedin said he was another coach on the bench. Kevin Bieksa, when he was hired for the Abbotsford Canucks, came out on Hockey Night in Canada, said that he was an excellent hire. He's going to make a great coach in the future, and I think they went with the wrong guy.
I think another concern for me too is the fact that Manny Malhotra only signed a 1 year contract with the Abbotsford Canucks at the end of this year. Are the Canucks even going to be able to convince him to stay in the AHL, or do you think he moves on to bigger and better things with the amount of coaching opportunities that are currently available in the NHL?
I think the way I look at it is, if Jay Woodcroft is still available and Gallant and all these other guys, I think there's a few openings. I just don't see him as a fit in those openings. So I don't see him going to Chicago, because Chicago probably doesn't want another first-year coach.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see him going to. Maybe he's a fit in Boston if Boston decides they want to retool and they want a younger coach.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. I don't think he'll go to Seattle either, because Seattle's probably. I don't know. They're maybe he's very loyal to Vancouver. He doesn't want to go down the I-5.
Mm-hmm.
I hope, but I don't see where he fits in. Yeah, I know. I don't see where he fits in on the coaching carousel right now, but I think he's going to stay. But they're really pushing it with the Foote contract, so you can probably hope he stays next year as well, and then the year after that. But if you keep Foote for that third year, if Foote even makes it that far, then yeah, it really depends on like. I think eventually he will become the Vancouver Canucks coach, Malhotra, but that's more because I don't have much hope in Foote. Let's just say that.
So Quinn Hughes is going to take Foote with him when he leaves for New Jersey.
I hope not, man. That's my biggest fear.
Do you think there's any appetite for Manny to come up and be an assistant coach to Foote?
I don't think that's what Manny wants at this point. He did 7 years of being an assistant, and it's, I think, easier for an AHL head coach to develop a good resume because he doesn't have head coach on his resume. He has assistant, assistant, assistant. A lot of the time you see assistants become head coaches and they're not very good or very successful. Scott Arniel is, I guess, an exception to that. He did a really good job this year in Winnipeg, although it looks like they're going to get bounced. So I think he wants to build his head coaching resume and then take that next step because he's already done the assistant route, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how things shake out. But I think I'm kind of on the same page as you. I think the only way the Canucks can make this work is if they can find someone as an assistant coach to come in and kind of run the offense and kind of show these guys how it should be done. Because, like you said, Adam Foote, defensive defenseman, I can't see him being very creative when it comes to an offensive system.
Yeah, that's I covered that in my video. How I think they really need to find someone who can really breathe some life into that offense. Obviously, getting a second line center will help, but if you're going to play the same system where you're just throwing it around the perimeter and then hoping to work it into the middle and get that one perfect shot, I don't know. Maybe they can poach one of the analytics guys from Carolina and throw him on the bench, and like that would be a promotion for a guy like that, right? So I don't know. Maybe I just want to see them shoot the puck more. Like I don't care if you cross the blue line, wind it up, and let a clapper go. We all remember Game 8, Cody Hodgson letting one go bar down in 2012 or whatever. Sometimes you guys put the puck on net, and I'd like to see the Canucks play a bit more like Carolina, where it's like, man, we may not have the firepower, which we did, and we fumbled it. Horvat, Miller, Lindholm, all these guys are gone. Besser's going to leave. So they're probably going to have to switch to a different system, which is a higher volume. Hackstall maybe, if he's interested as an assistant coach. Seattle was 6th in the league in scoring when they made the playoffs, and Woodcroft would be good, but I don't see how he would mesh well with Foote.
Interesting. Let's hop over and chat a little bit about the Oilers versus the Vegas Golden Knights. They're playing tonight. It seems pretty even. The shots are a little bit out of whack, but so far in this series, have you been impressed with the way that Evander Kane has kind of gotten himself into a groove in this series?
This is actually something I wanted to talk about because the last time I was on your show, I think it was Evander Kane's second or third game, and we had a conversation about how can he keep up with the skilled guys, and we were questioning whether or not they were making the right lineup decision playing him beside Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Boy, were we wrong. We were wrong on that one.
He scored 3 points that night.
Yeah, I'm totally willing to admit my mistakes and faults. And sorry, Evander Kane, I wasn't familiar with your injury rehab. I was familiar with your game. But it's been pretty inspiring to see how much of a jolt he's given them. Also, I don't think they would have gotten through LA without him, because in that game 3, he had a goal and an assist, and that was a tight game. And without his contribution, they would have gone down 3-0 in the series, and that would have been it. So him coming back has saved the Oilers' season pretty much. And with Ekholm coming back next round, if they make it, I'm fairly confident that they're going to win the cup, just by looking at the analytics of how they're dominating possession. Like Klingberg, Wallman, Bouchard are hovering above or close to 60% the last time I checked in expected goals for. If you can get that from your 1, 2, and 3, that's incredible. And then they have Nurse. Kulak is a solid pickup that they got from Montreal a few years ago. One of Ken Holland's best moves for the Oilers. But also you've got add Ekholm to that, man, it's going to be almost impossible to beat them. Plus all that depth they have, the physicality. So Florida obviously looking good. Shit on the Leafs tonight. My uncle from Edmonton was texting me. He's like, I probably can't say this on air actually, but
Just censor it.
yeah, Justin Bieber is in there in between intermissions, giving these guys a little pep talk. That's why they're getting the shit kicked out of them.
Yeah, they should have Rush in there or something like that. Something that's got a little bit more step up to it.
Yeah.
Well, the other guy I wanted to ask you about, because you see in the playoffs a lot of the time, guys kind of step up their game, go from being grinders to being guys who put the puck in the net. And it's another Connor, because Connor Brown has been looking really, really good in the playoffs. Once again, I think he's got 7 points in 10 games so far this playoffs, but being very effective in very limited minutes. That's the kind of thing you need to win the cup, though, is guys who are role players stepping up and putting the puck in the net, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's more than just Connor Brown. Adam Henrique, 2 goals last game.
Mm-hmm.
You got Trent Frederick. He had a big, I think, 3-point game against the Kings at one point. But about Connor Brown, it's a pretty inspirational story how tore his knee, played, I think he played like 4 games in Washington that year before he joined the Oilers. Was on like a league minimum contract, bonus laden. All he had to do was play like 10 games. Was terrible at the beginning last season. Picked it up in the playoffs. Has been found money for these guys. They re-sign him. Excellent depth piece. I think he started off in the 4th line this year. Now he's moved his way up to the 3rd line. Incredible skater. And then game 2, I think he just put the team on his back. And that's the thing about knee surgery, right? If the Canucks decided that they held on to Ilya Mikheyev another year, they would have had another 20-goal scorer on their roster, but they were a little bit too quick to move him for a 2nd rounder, eh? But I don't know. They replaced him with DeBrusk. DeBrusk had a good year. Mm-hmm. I know I've completely, sidetracked your question about Connor Brown and these depth guys, but that's the thing. Taking it back to the Canucks, it's like, even if they make the playoffs next year, I don't feel like they have the depth to make another run. It's going to take a few years for them to get back to contender status, because it's insane how they just messed it all up in 1 year. How they went from 1 goal away from conference final to completely missing the playoffs, losing their Jack Adams winning coach, laughing stock of the league, last team in the league to have a practice facility, all these things. And man, I thought the betting days were behind us. They are, but the darkness is returning.
A shadow still remains with 2 more years of paying Oliver Ekman-Larsson $4.7 million.
Yeah, and then another 4 after that at like 2.3 million or something. And man, I thought the long goal recapture penalty was bad. This is worse, way worse.
So Vegas, do they have a chance? Mark Stone's not playing tonight. They haven't really looked like they have much to give tonight. Is it just put a fork in them, they're done, or do you think they still have a chance to come back and take this game to 7?
Never say never, especially if the goaltender on the other end is Stuart Skinner.
Mm-hmm.
But the graphic earlier that CBC showed, or it's not CBC. Oh my God, I'm still thinking it's CBC Hockey Night in Canada. Really showing my age here, guys. The graphic they showed: Jack Eichel 0 goals, Dorofeyev. Their top 5 scorers all had 0 goals, and Mark Stone's not even playing. So you wonder, where's that offense going to come from? You can stick, I don't know, you can stick freaking 60-year-old Dominic Hasek in there. You're still not going to get any pucks past them if your top guys aren't scoring, right? So I never say never. Crazier things have happened. Like even in the bubble, the Canucks were down against the Knights. We come back, force a game 7, and then they need like 1 lucky shot on 50 to beat us. And it's just boom. That's all it takes. All it takes is Jack Eichel getting 1 softie on Stuart Skinner. Stuart Skinner loses his confidence, and this series is back in Edmonton. And then if they can win one on the road, then game 7 at home. Who knows? But I do think like I mentioned earlier, I think the Oilers are going to win the cup. So
yeah. I'm starting to think it might be the Oilers versus the Panthers for the Stanley Cup. I've adjusted it slightly because originally I had Colorado versus the Panthers, but obviously that's not happening anymore. But with getting Ekholm back in the lineup, oh my goodness, like you replace Stetcher, who has been playing well the few games he's gotten in, but you replace him with Ekholm, and it's going to be a whole different beast back there for the Edmonton Oilers defense.
Yeah, it's going to be scary, and what a job they did at the deadline picking up Wallman for pretty cheap. He's been incredible, but also getting Klingberg for cheap. Him, like he was terrible in Toronto and Dallas for those couple of years, but turns out that he needed like double hip resurfacing, and now he's just so smooth out there. I remember I went to a game once against Dallas, and he scored the overtime winner, and I was like, it was a year he had like 70 points, and I'm like, man, I wish we had that guy. And then it was shocking to see how he just completely fell off the map, and now he's just incredible. But I had my doubts about Stan Bowman, and I didn't like how, or I guess it was karma for them, the way they lost Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg. But the way they replaced them with, like Arvidsson and Frederick and Wallman, especially, like incredible work by the GM.
Cool, brother. Thanks for taking time out of your night to come and join the stream. And what can the kids look forward to in your next video?
All right, so I just bought some recording equipment, so I will probably be back on camera. I haven't been on camera for a video since like early in the season when the Canucks were on the Florida road trip. So I'm looking forward to getting back on camera. I think I'm going to do a Canucks off-season preview, everything that needs to go right for them to go back to contender status. It'll be more of like a relaxed podcast style video, not my video essay type stuff. So that's in the chamber for now. But before that, I'm working on a Mike Keenan, St. Louis, how we drove every single superstar out. And that should be out by Monday, I'm hoping, before the end of the long weekend.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you, the Blue Line Hockey, for joining. All the links are in the description if you want to check them out. And enjoy the rest of the game here, brother.
All right. Thanks, Russ. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. And enjoy the rest of your evening, everyone.
Nothing is perfect.